Hey guys, Alex McIvor here with Dunnigan Realtors in Sacramento, California. Today I want to talk about what inspections that you should get or you should think about getting when you are purchasing a home here in Sacramento. So when I'm advising my buyer clients on what inspections they should get, there's four that immediately come to mind. Not all of those are you going to need for sure. There's at least two that you really should have. There's certain situations where you won't, and I'll get into that. The first one is the most obvious. It's a home inspection. I think this is really the most critical of all of them, and you really are going to want to do this. A home inspector is going to go through the whole house, and they are going to just check everything. They'll check light switches. They'll, open up the electrical panel. They will test the HVAC system. They're going to, if the roof is, accessible, meaning, it's not a three-story house with a super high pitch, they'll hop on it and they'll look at the roof, see the condition of the roof. They're going to just test everything and give you they should be giving you a 50 something page report, and it's going to list all of the, problems and give you a status of the home. A lot of times there'll be issues with the homes, and they will know what to tell you on what. Basically, they'll let you know how to make sense of these reports, because every house is going to have a ton of issues. So if you freak out because there's a lot of things, that's not necessarily that big of an issue, but they could kind of point out and say, hey, these are the few that I would actually be concerned about, because there's going to be a bunch of little ones no matter what. Even if it's practically a brand new build, there's going to be things here and there. Even if it's a couple years old, there'll be rust on some condensate lines. There, things happen, and a lot of it is just to get a sense of how the house is now. And if there are problems that really need to be addressed, then you can take care of those. But it's giving you a baseline on how the house is currently. The cost for a home inspection will vary. Typically, I think between really about $350 to $550. And there are factors that are going to, determine that: square footage, number of stories, if there's a pool and a spa, if the foundation is raised or if it's slab, things like that. So, if you have a very simple house, it's going to be on the cheaper end. But if you have, an old 2-story home that has a crawl space and you got a pool and a jacuzzi, you're going to be on the higher end of that. So the second one you're going to want to do is a pest inspection. You really want to have this here in California and Sacramento. A pest inspection, while they are looking for, is there a rat infestation, things like that. Really, the main concern is going to be on the structural. Are there termites? Is there wood rot, which is a fungus? Once the wood has been exposed to water for an extended period of time, that wood rot stays in the wood, and it will damage it. And basically, as soon as there's some humidity in the air, it'll continue to grow. So even if you paint over it, it doesn't need access to standing water anymore. It'll continue to eat. So you really want to get a pest inspection. They'll go around and kind of poke all over the trim and beams and look at any problem areas and give you a estimate on what it would cost to fix that. And you really want to have that one done. The only time I would really recommend to not do one is if you have a recent one in hand from a reputable company. Your realtor should be able to kind of tell you if they're a reputable company. You could also give them a call and they could talk to you about the report. Or if you are buying, say, a condo and the pest and the structural stuff is handled by the HOA, and they're going to be more on top of that stuff, and you're really only responsible for the stuff on the inside. And then your home inspector could kind of say, hey, I saw some activity. They can't really call out dry rot, but they could say, hey, that looks like it, you may want to call someone in, and then you could bring in someone. But typically, if it's a condo that looks like it's in decent shape, I'm not really going to recommend a pest inspection. The cost for a pest inspection is typically between about $100 to $150, maybe $200 on the upper end. Company I typically am recommending, they charge $150, but if you pay the day of or ahead of time, it's only going to cost you $125. So the next inspection I would recommend getting is a sewer scope. This one is a little more optional. But if you are in one of the older neighborhoods, especially the neighborhoods that have a lot of trees, really that's kind of the critical factor. I would certainly recommend doing one. So here in Sacramento, if you are in Land Park, Curtis Park, East Sac, different places in Midtown, depending on where you are, I'd really recommend doing them. They're going to stick a camera through the sewer line, and they will run it the length, until it meets up with the city's sewer line, or as far as they could really get. And they'll, see if there's any root intrusions, if there's clogs, if there's cracks, if there's things that need to get taken care of. This is the one I typically am holding my breath for when we get it back, because it seems like that's a pretty common one to then you throw it down there, everything seems like it's fine, and then you get hit with a $5,000 estimate, to repair the sewer line, which is not that uncommon, unfortunately, in a lot of parts of Sacramento. But you want to make sure you have that knowledge before you go through with your home purchase. The cost for a sewer scope is typically between $100 to $175 in that range. So lastly, I also typically am recommending a roof inspection. While your home inspector is going to go on the roof and they will inspect it as well, what's nice about getting a dedicated roof inspection is that they will give you an estimate for fixing the problems, whereas the home inspector is just going to call them out. You and I probably don't know much about how much it costs or what it takes to really fix a roof. So it's good having the actual roofing company come out and say, oh, it's going to cost $3,800 to fix this, that, or the other. Or, hey, this roof, it needs a couple $100s worth of work, but it probably has another 10, 15 years on it. That's kind of helpful that you won't get from the home inspector. And they at least the company that I recommend, they only cost $75. So it's not that much, and it gives you much more peace of mind. And it also gives you more leverage if you are going to then ask the sellers for a credit or to repair things, to say, hey, this is exactly how much it's going to cost. So those are the 4 main inspections I'm typically recommending, with the first 2, the home inspection and the pest inspection, being like, you really, really need to do those. The only time I'd recommend not doing those is if you are an experienced home buyer, say you're an investor, and you know you're going to be tearing down the house anyways, then maybe you could get away with it, but really you're going to want to do those. There are other home inspections that you could certainly do if the circumstance, made sense, say a chimney inspection or an HVAC specific inspection. That's kind of like, how the roof, they'll give you an estimate for repair or to replace the HVAC system typically. A site survey or a structural engineer if you need it, if there's a question about something like that. So there's certainly more inspections you can do, but really those first 4 should cover you pretty good. And if any questions arise, say during the course of the home inspection, he saw something that, he's not sure about and he's not really qualified to talk about on the report, say structurally, then you might want to get a structural engineer out there just to confirm things, or, kind of tell you, hey, no, this is going to be a huge issue. But I typically would wait on those on a structural engineer until you've done your first home inspection and seen if there's a real issue first. And that's all I have for you today. So if you have any questions or concerns, please reach out below. If you found this video helpful or informative, please give me a like and subscribe. It's super helpful. And that's it for today. Thanks so much, guys. All right, bye.